So, welcome to another episode of Let's Get Weird Together, the show where we talk about how being weird is the best thing ever. And I'm excited to continue with our Psychic Fair series. So, we're celebrating psychics that live in Ohio that are going to be part of our upcoming fair on April 4th. And today we have the Reverend Gary C. Herron. Welcome, Gary.
Wait, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. And it was really great to see that you had applied for this because I remember seeing you in hockey in the Halloween in the Hills and being like, I should contact him for my fair. So we were very
Well, thank you
aligned
very
on.
much. Thank you very much. I've been around the metaphysical community in Columbus for quite some time, probably for the last 20 years or so. But in the last 5 years, I've had some ups and downs where I've had to step out of that genre and everything, and just step back and get into myself for a change. And that's what I've been working on. And now it's like after 5 years or so, as I'm looking to get back out into society again, do some festivals and some public events.
So in those 5 years of pulling back and looking inward, what's been the coolest thing you've really discovered?
Um, my wife passed away at the end of
Mhm.
2021, and she was also my high priestess, and we had been together for 25 years. And I think the shock of it that following year really woke me up into my own power that I
Mhm.
had all along, but would hand it over for whatever reasons. You're married, you're trying to do things together to survive, keep your nose above water and stuff. And I sort of let her, as a high priestess and everything, she in a matriarchal religion, and I'm a Wicca high priest. She
Mhm.
was my teacher. But I had to rediscover myself and my own power because I would give that over to her, being the high priestess, you see. And
Mhm.
she would, like, not that she was ruling me or pushing me around or anything like that, but I stepped back. I was her right arm, okay, or I was your
Mhm.
shotgun, on just about everything. You see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
was the one going out and working every day while she was taking care of the Covenstead here and down in New Straitsville, Ohio, and that's where I'm currently at now. But it took that next year for me to finally rediscover myself and what kind of power do I have and how do I want to get a new mindset to go forward.
Mhm.
And how am I going to, I'm 72 years old. How am I going to live for the next 20 years?
Right. Well, that's beautiful. And are you still part of the coven? Are you still active or?
I pretty much dissolved it. There wasn't too
Mhm.
much to our coven or anything, but I pretty much dissolved it. And now I work solitaire.
Okay.
And I get into a lot of black cat energy, sorcery, spell casting, crystal gazing,
Mhm.
along those lines, more than tarot. I still do tarot, but just basically working on um, a fifth dimension rather than
Yeah.
this three dimension, if that
Mhm.
makes sense to everybody out there.
Actually, I was going to ask you for the listeners, can you define the distinction between the third and the fifth dimension?
You have a two dimension where you would look at a cartoon character like a stick man or something like that. That's
Hmm.
two dimensional. Okay, because it's in our world and we are the observer of these things all around us, and the culmination of atoms, the energy convoluting on the physical
Hmm.
plane, which makes it solid. We're the witness to that. That gives it three dimension. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, we're three bodies in one. We're physical, we're mental, and we're spiritual. So, in order to get to the spiritual, the Godhead, is to realize that there is a source energy out there in the universe
Hmm.
and to connect with that source energy. And
Yeah.
when you go through the mind, you open up different dimensions and ideas. You're able to tap into the unconscious, which is a direct chain link connection to the universal and universal knowledge, the Akasha records, if you know what that is, where it's the divine library of all things,
Hmm.
past, present, and future, that have occurred, okay, or will occur, okay. And so you're able to tap into that. And that's my goal. That's my direction and
Hmm.
purpose as I go out the rest of this life. I've always been into the metaphysical or the occult, but now it's like at 72 years old, how wonderful that I get to really explore and get into it out here in the country, in the woods, in a big old 14-room house.
Yeah, so you get to play a little bit now.
I do. I do.
Yeah.
And so that's basically what the fifth dimension is, those different dimensions when you actually get into your mind and then get out of your mind into source energy.
So is anything like what they were talking about in the book Flatland? Have you read that?
No, I have. No, I haven't.
Okay. That's an interesting one. It's one
Mm-hmm.
where like literal dots like or different shapes experience spheres and then it moves on beyond it. So, yeah.
Right. I know I had to go through, I delved into shamanism for a while, and especially
Hmm.
Toltec philosophy, and I did a lot of um, recapitulation
Hmm.
on subjects in my life, my personal life, my shadow selves, and had to do a lot of shadow work and stuff.
Hmm.
And that was a real experience as to sort of this is a hindrance, it's a wall, it's an obstruction to my life. Let's take something and erase that blackboard.
Hmm.
Okay. And that's the shadow work, is to say, there it is. You see it for what it is, how
Hmm.
it happened, and you change the energy by wiping it clean, and it's not part of your makeup anymore. It's very much part of you. It's your strengths.
Yeah.
Okay. Deep strengths, but you're just sort of wiping that clean, and it's like I have a new mindset. That used to be me, but the real me is this going forward.
So, in your experience doing shadow work with yourself or others, what kind of resistance do you come up against? Or is
Oh
people
God,
kind
I'm
yeah.
my own worst enemy. I'm my own worst enemy. You wouldn't be, you'd be surprised. The resistance I have is just being stubborn,
Okay.
getting out of my own way. Oh, I'll procrastinate and I'll do that tomorrow, and just little things. Then that we all go through on a daily basis, some more than others. Okay.
Mhm.
And as you go through your life, you see these things and you say, okay, I gotta correct that. Or oh, that's a negative thought. I gotta erase that one.
Mhm.
Okay. Or I gotta correct that. I gotta think this way instead. And where that used to be me, this is the new me going forward. And so yeah, I've had a lot of resistance just, from being stubborn, you know ignorant even. I'll admit it. It's like, hey, I didn't know. Now I do. I grew a little bit.
So I'm going to switch direction a little bit. You talked earlier about black cat energy. So
Yeah.
is that an actual practice or
Black cat energy
define?
is something that I stumbled upon. I love cats. I've got a menagerie over here in the corner of all different kinds of cats, and especially black cats. My mother was into black cats. My mother was a witch and didn't know it.
Hmm.
She did all sorts of little things, and it's like, you're doing witchcraft, right? And she was so Christian. But the black cat energy is basically uh, um, mostly females pick up on that. It's the divine feminine. Okay, it's the alluring, it's the nonchalant attitude, it's the unbothered attitude, it's the I have inner strength here. I'm sitting over here and you're in plain sight, and all you're seeing is my eyes, and because I'm sitting in the shadow, you see. And it's an inner power, and there's no reason why, in my estimation, why certain men, can't pick up that black cat energy and use that.
Hmm.
But most men come off like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't know you. I don't hear you. You see,
Hmm.
because I'm trying to save face and everything. I'm using it as I'm observing you. I'm observing the world around me. Yeah, I love this party. I'm glad I came, but I'm going to stand here and look around for a while. Let's see what people are doing here.
Hmm.
That's black cat energy. Or it's not necessarily negative, but people would say that, oh, that's sinister. You're conniving, or you're trying to manipulate. And it's like, no, I'm not. The only thing I'm manipulating over here is me and my personal opinion about what I'm viewing here as I'm standing here, or I'm observing, or I'm in this conversation, or whatever.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of a nonchalant kind of attitude.
Right.
You know,
So
this is the mind feminine is passive. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Actually, what's coming up is like when I'm not in work mode, I might actually be in a little bit of black cat energy. Because when I walk into rooms, I'm really about listening and paying attention and just absorbing information. My one friend gets a little annoyed because we have these community events and I barely speak until there's like two of us in the room. But that's because I'm just listening to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I noticed that part of that is I find myself in just normal mode with my eyes closed all the time because I'm seeing things in my head. And that's from trying to train myself in meditation and stuff to, I block out everything else here. So I'm in a conversation, but I'm standing here with my eyes closed. Do you realize you're doing that, Gary? You know? And it's because I'm seeing things in my head rather than speaking.
Mhm. I mean, your eyes have been closed for a good portion of this conversation, but that's okay. So, what you see, you mentioned that your mom was Christian and didn't know that she was a witch. So, how did you get into all of this?
I honestly, I think I was born this way. I think I was in past lives, had to deal with the occult of some form, fashion, or whatever.
Hmm.
I pretty firmly believe I was either a witch, sorcerer, or something along those lines, and
Hmm.
I'm just continuing the journey in this lifetime, for the time period. Ups and downs, just like anybody else, but at the same time, I'm learning magical things. I've got, almost 1,000 book library out there that I could pull from at any given time. Books that were Samantha's, or just mine. My own
Hmm.
personal library. I must have 500 books down here, so I can pull from a lot of different occult paths and stuff. And it's just I'm
Hmm.
reviewing and reviewing. And basically, I think a lot of people in their incarnations are just reviewing a lot of stuff. Maybe they had an episode with being tortured. Just
Hmm.
throwing it out. Okay. And they're getting tortured in this lifetime one way or another. Okay. Maybe the characters have changed, but the lesson is still there. And
Hmm.
that's part of our reincarnation, our karma and everything. It's like you don't escape too much karma. You have to get that lesson, before and get it in your spirit, your
Hmm.
soul, before you can move on without it and lighten your load.
We've never really talked about karma on this show. So, for those who are new, because I know some of my audience members are just curious and starting out, and I know that
Mhm.
there's like the pop psychology or like the pop version of karma, but how do you define karma?
It's basically the basics is your lessons. Okay, that's the
Okay.
short of it. The long of it is as you go through all your incarnations, your soul growth, your spirit, your oversoul, everything is all confined. And as you go through time, okay, which is man's concept, but just for the
Hmm.
sake of conversation, um, you pick up things that you need to learn. You need to
Hmm.
learn empathy, or you need to learn guilt, or you need to learn seduction, or you need to learn happiness and
Hmm.
joy. I had someone tell me one time, don't forget to look for the joy in things.
Hmm.
And she was right. She was very right, because at that time, I was very angry and I needed more joy in my life. And so that's your karma, okay? Things to
Hmm.
work out like that. And as you progress through your lifetimes, your incarnations, whether you stay on the other side of this life or you reincarnate into this physical realm over and over again, you still have these subtle lessons to learn that empathy
Hmm.
or that, peacefulness or whatever. And so that's what we're doing is we're
Hmm.
reviewing over and over and over again. We're learning the lessons. And sometimes you learn the lessons, but they give you a pop quiz. Did you really learn that lesson? Here you are again. Let's see if you remember that, you see. You know, so it happens like that. But you set yourself up. I think we are to a certain degree preordained by ourselves as we come onto this earth plane. So we have those set of lessons and stuff that we need to review and work on in this harsh physical plane, and we set it up for us to have those opportunities present themselves, in our lives.
And so, how much of our life is preordained by us? and how much is free will after we've incarnated, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I'm thinking it's like a division is my feeling about that. And I couldn't say for sure unless I really studied into it, but I would say it's probably division between source energy. It's like you need to work on this, and me saying I've got to work on this, like I said, and set myself up for it, And then, like you
Mhm.
say, free will comes into play because the only thing in the world that's unavoidable, avoidable is change.
Mhm.
It's like the winds of change. Okay. It's like things change in an instant, a
Mhm.
minute, how things change and everything. So you really are at free will at any time.
Okay. And I like how you said that sometimes there's a pop quiz because I've met people who are like they work through something and they get mad when they have to experience it again. But phrasing it as the pop quiz, are you sure you got it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I've had that happen. It's like, "God, didn't I learn this once before?" I'm kind of scratching my head.
Yeah, I remember one year I had like an end of year review where I had like minor versions of everything I cleared that year. But like all the energy just came up again to say hello before it went away forever. I'm
That's a
just
red
like,
flag.
okay, that's wild.
Yep, yep. I remember you. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Nice to see you. Bye-bye now.
Yep. Ah, so when you meet people who are very, very new to this journey, is there a particular book that you like to point people to, or do you curate it towards their journey?
I have some favorites, and I
Hmm.
do tell people to get some of the favorites and everything. It depends on what you're into, okay?
Hmm.
And I would think that the first one of the first things that you get into is your own personal energy, your own energy centers. So I would recommend um, Wheels of Life by Andoria Judith.
Hmm.
Okay. As learning about your chakras and your energy centers, the energy points in your body,
Hmm.
it falls back onto the statement, who am I?
Yeah.
And you really have to get down to who's my energy? What's my energy? Okay. What kind of energy am I putting out? Okay. That this keeps happening in my life, or this success happens in my life. What kind of energy? So you really, it's part of knowing yourself. And I would say that's probably one of the better books right there to start out. And
Okay.
Doria Judith. Judith is her last name. Wheels of Life.
What was the first name again?
And Enodia, excuse me, Enodia.
Anodia. Anodia Judith Wheel of Life. Okay.
Wheels of Life. Yeah. Yeah. That'd be one of the first ones I would suggest to people, and get a good
Hmm.
study of your energy centers.
Amazing. Did you ever read The Holographic Life or The
I've
Holographic Universe? That was one of those books that came into my life in a random way. Like I borrowed it from someone at work the week before he quit, so I got to keep it.
oh wow. Lucky you.
Like I've had people come into my life just to give me the right book sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I've read some articles and stuff on the holographic universe, but I don't
Mhm.
know. I've never read that book or others.
It's another one that just reinforces the whole thing that this is just, a hologram representation. Like we're the ones who creating everything that we interact with, right? That we create our own bubble reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I truly believe that. And here we go back to mindsets again.
Hmm.
It's like you have to have the mindset of if you want to be rich, then act rich now.
Hmm.
Okay. Gee, all I've got is a brownie here, but a little Debbie cake. But you can eat that little Debbie cake like, man, why don't the peasants eat this? You could really put on the air of it, and really enjoy that treat of little Debbie brownie.
Hmm.
And it's so good, and I feel rich for it, and I'm living a dream here in the moment and you keep on doing stuff like that
Hmm.
all the time, I feel rich or I have money. Look at I got $1. I'm going to get something at this dollar store and everything. You feel those feelings of rich, and the next thing you know, richness comes to you in various ways. The energy.
I love
Mhm.
that distinction because I know people who will take that and then spend money as if they're rich
Mhm.
before they've made it. I've seen several coaches do that. Um, Because I somehow got wrangled into the coaching industry. It's fascinating
Yeah,
since there.
it's it's not so much the physical thing as just the mental thing. Okay, the
Mhm.
feeling associated with what's that brownie going to taste like?
Mhm.
Good. You see, and it's like pleasure center, and all those neurons and croutons start firing up inside your little brain, and the next thing you know, you release the serotonin or dopamine and stuff like that, and we're feeling good. And it's like, that's what the root is that you really want.
Mhm.
So that's the energy that you want to kick into.
I love that. I used to be a waitress back in the day. And sometimes you would have people who were not generous at all. And I'd watch my fellow servers react with a lot of anger. And I would open up the book, and there'd be literally two quarters in it on a very large bill. And I would just pick them up and dance and kind of whoop around a little bit and just celebrate those two quarters. Um, and I'd walk out with like 30% at the end of the night. Right? Like, so overall,
Right?
and I actually got some people actually caught on in this one restaurant that I was kind of doing witchcraft at this place because I would bless my tables like people because people would see it themselves. If they were going to walk out on the tab, they would get uncomfortable and move to someone else's section. Or when we were rotating tables, I would always
Uh-huh.
take the more generous tables every time and the bigger parties.
How cool.
Yep.
And see, that was just a mindset. You
It was
change
just,
that up, you're living it before it actually happened.
mm-hmm. And the other people would stew and they'd stay angry about one bad tip and have like a really bad night and maybe even be angry the next day.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they'll take it to bed with them and pick it up the next morning. How's your baggage feeling this morning?
I was I
It's like,
was I was I was using a salt scrub after every shift at that particular place. I like washing all that away.
anytime you're dealing with the public, it's like you got issues going on. But it doesn't help to gripe. It doesn't make you feel any better. I've had the experience of having certain bosses that we almost came to blows.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that was my anger days and everything. And I had to see how much that was really the physical plane is like syrup trying to get through, trying to get things done. I got to fix the
Mm-hmm.
sink and I got to get this and do this. It's really heavy, okay? And when you add anger to it, okay, you really, you cramp your style. You're not moving it forward at all. Actually, you're throwing blocks up in front of you because of that
Mm-hmm.
one thing, that emotion of anger.
Yeah.
And so it really doesn't pay in the end. It's like, yeah, I could be angry about this, but it's their journey. This isn't mine, and sort of brush that off and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, think joyful thoughts instead. Oh, gee, look at that little bird up in the tree singing away,
Yeah.
or look at that blade of grass coming up through the sidewalk. That's cool.
So is anger always bad, or are there times where it's useful?
I think it's like a pressure valve. It's you telling yourself there's an issue, there's a
Yeah.
problem. And then it's like, are you paying attention that
Yeah.
there's a problem? Okay. Or are you just wanting to vent, and let off steam and whatever? I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
good thing to let off steam sometimes. I'm mad as hell and I don't care who the hell knows it, you know, and let it go. Maybe you need to throw some stuff in the backyard, whatever, or to flop on the ground and have a temper tantrum. Be a 2-year-old for 5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and beat the ground if that's what you got to do. But you release it and you get back to, hey, this is real life here, and I want the best out of this real life. So
Mm-hmm.
why not think good thoughts?
Okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to manifesting magical moments in your life, is there one particular thing where like you were just so in tune with the universe, you got blessed with something really cool? Whether it's an experience or meeting that one right person at the right time.
Mm, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I had magical moment. I had a dream, okay, and it was really pretty vivid and everything, where I was at this festival. And at this festival, there's people around and tents and stuff like that all around. And I went into this one tent and I had coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And the coffee was so strong, it was like I'm choking on the coffee, whatever it was. Like too much instant coffee and then a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of water or something I was choking on. And I'm standing outside this tent, and there's people around, and they're milling around and everything. And all of a sudden, I'm choking, and I felt this presence come around behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the corner of my eye, this dark robe, and it come around the other side, and I felt this presence. And I had this face come up beside me and say, "Are you all right?" Well, no, of course you're not. Come with me. And the face went back and I didn't see it. But the next thing I know, I'm inside the tent and she's pointing in my back. She's poking me in the back. And as I go through the crowd inside the tent, there's this group of people and they're like a committee or something sitting up there. And they said something to me as to why are you here? And I said, I'm here to celebrate life and to give thanks to the person that gave me this opportunity to have water inside the
Mm-hmm.
tent. And they gave me a white rose that was sparkling.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took the white rose, and the next thing I knew, I was out back outside the tent and I was walking down the road as if I was walking away from the festival.
Wow.
A month later, I went to my first pagan gathering, pagan festival.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I met my high priestess, who put me on the path to Wicca. And I stayed with her for
Mm.
25 years and was her student as a high and became a high priest. Took me 14 years
Wow.
studying with her to get through it and everything. But that was so, I recognized that uh, spirit behind me as Hecate, the
Mm-hmm.
goddess Hecate. And because she always pokes her little pointy finger in your back. You're at a crossroads here. What are you going to do? You
Mm-hmm.
know? And so I picked that up, and I've always said she's been my matron goddess, okay, goddess aspect that I've always followed, and I'm her dedicant, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and but it was Hecate that put me on the path to Wicca.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, but it was so real. The dream was so real, and then all of a sudden, the things unfolded after that within the next month or two. I asked it, she was at this festival and they had just bought this land, and I said, "Would it be okay if I could come down here and work sometime? Just do things like landscaping and stuff." And they both looked at me. Everybody was looking at me like, yeah, come on in. We need help. So I was making trips from Columbus. I was living in Columbus at the time,
Mm-hmm.
out to the other side of Cambridge, Ohio, to go out there and work on weekends and everything. And I was on the path. I was out in nature. I was
Mm-hmm.
clearing roads and paths and all sorts of good stuff out there and everything. And it was Raven Wolf Nature Sanctuary, is what we called it
Okay.
and everything. And that acreage is still out there. Other people have their hands on it now, but that's another story. But that set me on the path of Wicca. That whole dream.
That's awesome. And
Yeah,
and so is Hecate the only deity that you work with then?
I work with all deities.
Okay.
Okay, I'm pretty pan religious, so to speak. Okay, um,
Mhm.
the masculine and the feminine is in
Mhm.
everything. Okay, it's inevitable. Okay, the stars ain't nothing without the space.
Yeah.
you know. Here we are on the earth touches us, that we touch things, everything is connected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, it's like the masculine and feminine is all things. And it really behooves the individual to balance those masculine and feminine energies in within themselves to see
Right.
where the yin is to your yang.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But has there been a deity who's come to you or decided to work with you that you were surprised about, that you didn't think you'd resonate with, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I guess we are aligned for this.
well, as you know, it's funny you should mention that because we were talking about Black Cat Energy, and I've really gotten a um, nod from the goddess Bastet.
Okay.
Okay, to start working with her, and of course you have her counterpart Sekhmet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which I haven't gotten into at all, but I'm really looking forward to that because you have here again, you have your masculine and feminine within the feline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so that's going to help me understand my own personal black cat energy a little more and everything. I can be the warrior, but I can
Mm-hmm.
also be the seductress at the same time.
Yeah, that's
If
pretty
that
cool.
makes sense. Yeah. So, and that goes forward here, right? We go back to the basics again of physical, mental, and spiritual. Those that goddess falls into all three of those things. What does it mean, black cat energy in the physical? Well, get in shape. Start doing your yoga, movement for the sake of exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've been practicing as of late this whole past winter is to really just sort of get what does a cat look like? What does it act like? Well, it jumps. It does all its antics. It gets the zoomies at 3 in the morning, and everything. And that's how, if you follow that type of path, then it behooves me to get my physicality in that order. The mental is the same way,
Mm-hmm.
A cat will sit over there and think thoughts and everything before it even makes a move. It'll observe a mouse in the corner for hours before it makes a move. You see, it's
Yeah.
calculated. Uh, or makes that jump. It's almost like you can see it in their little minds, the geometry going on in their little minds to make the jump, you know.
Yep.
And of course, with the spiritual and everything, it's just, how much are you giving your heart into the spiritual path that you're on? And if Bastet is about home and nurturing and all those feminine things, then get into it. What's that like in your home? How do you display that? With your
Mhm.
physicality or with your emotions or whatever. How do you display that? And that's kind of what I'm working on.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's awesome. And I love that you brought up Sekhmet. When I did my tour of Egypt, I had an interesting experience with her.
Do
I got
tell.
to go into the beautiful room, where she was. It was at that beautiful statue. You could feel the energy. I got there
Uh-huh.
for the rest of my tour. I walk in and she goes, "Ugh, I'm not for you." And I'm like, cool, I respect that. I just stepped out. She's like, no, no, we're not doing this.
Oh, well,
It was
bummer.
No, well, to me, I was going there hoping to work with certain ones, and it was just everything was a surprise. So by that point, I'm just like every time I went to a different temple,
Uh-huh.
blank slate, no expectations. And it's just what am I going to experience here? Like I'd love to
Yeah.
have a great one, but that was a pretty funny one. I mean, I didn't feel bad or anything. It's just like that's just not the energy vibration I'm in right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got a message,
I
you know.
know.
Have you ever had a message just come out of the blue, and it's like that wasn't my voice talking to me?
Oh yeah. Um,
Yeah.
quite a
I've had that
few.
several times. Oh, so you're going to be a quitter, huh? I had that ring through my head one time in a certain situation. It was like, where did that come from? That wasn't
Mhm.
me. So you're going to be a quitter, huh?
I've gotten used to the stream of random messages, to be honest.
This happened. Most of them I get through meditation or something like that, where it's like I'm into it. And a lot of times I'll come out and it's like, what do I remember?
Hmm.
It's like shock of coming back into the body, so to speak, is like, man, I've lost a lot of stuff already, and that's a hassle. It really is. It's you kind of lot. It's in there. Okay, you picked up the information that you needed, but as you go, it's kind of coming out of your sleep. I've forgotten my dream.
Well, that was like we were in the Great Pyramid and I got to lay in the sarcophagus and I just got a massive download and then I heard, figure it out later. You're too hot. Get out of here. I'm like, okay, because it was very hot that day.
Wow, I'll bet. Hot and dry, probably.
Yeah, yeah. But I get a lot of messages when, especially when I lived in San Diego, because I drove a lot more than I do now. And
Mm-hmm.
there's one stretch of road, around Mission Valley it had this weird energy too. People were known to have ghost sightings. But when I was like just re in a relaxed state driving through there, I would get sometimes a new skill. Like the first time I was able to see two different futures simultaneously was on that road. But that was just
Huh.
because I was in a super relaxed state.
I see.
Yeah.
That's a big point, is the relaxation.
Hmm.
Part of any kind of meditation or any kind of journeying or whatever. And let's face it, in this stressful world, it's hard to relax anymore.
Yeah, it
We're
really is.
not in, Salvador Dali's time or Leonardo da Vinci's time where they were relaxed, man.
Yeah, and we're getting assaulted all the time between the phones and the computers, and there's just a lot more information floating around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, why one of the reasons why I got into crystal ball reading and scrying more and more, aside from tarot, is because I wanted to train my mind. And I figured if I can sit in Grand Central Station and read my crystal ball, I can read that crystal ball anywhere.
Hmm.
Or even just go into your mind in Grand Central Station and do a full-blown
Hmm.
ritual.
That sounds a lot. So the honest Bible, the woman who, wrote all the Theta Healing books, she has that same theory too. We're like, we do need to train ourselves to be able to tap in during chaos, especially as healers.
Hmm.
So that way, in case there's like an accident, or she believes in preparing us for emergencies,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So, like, if there's a car accident, you can walk up and do that healing really quick and stay focused with the fire engines and everything else going on. So, I love the fact that yeah. So, I've actually trained myself to, I've actually led meditations at Burning Man events where there's complete chaos in my camp because everybody's partying or someone just started playing the piano or whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's focus. Focus is king.
Yeah. So tell me more about the crystal ball.
Well, I use several different types of crystal balls.
Hmm.
Okay, they're all around me all the time, and then I use other crystals besides that. I use labradorite and um, not just different crystals aside from the ball. Now this is newmite.
Hmm.
Okay, hard to see there
Beautiful.
a little
Yeah.
bit. Okay, but it's a big old chunk of it and everything. They closed the mine, so that piece when I bought it was 500. It's now probably worth around 1,500 now. So
Wow.
it's getting rare. But I
Hmm.
use all sorts of different things, and it all falls under that heading of scrying, where
Yeah.
you can use lots of different things as your speculum. Okay,
Hmm.
I have this one crystal that I use right here. It's a wand. And if I wanted to use that, I could just hold that and focus on the top part of the crystal here and go into that. It's not so much as you're gazing from your physical eyes as you're gazing from your psychic eye, your third eye, okay, in between your eyebrows. And when you get I get the combination of both all the time. So it's like if I'm not looking into the ball, then I'm seeing it flash by like little moving pictures in my mind. And it's up to me to either interpret that or just flat out say it.
Got it.
Okay. If I'm seeing something in the ball, it comes past my mind here, and I see Frank Sinatra, that I'm going to tell you Frank Sinatra. Don't ask me why I'm seeing Frank Sinatra. Okay.
Hmm.
Whatever. Okay. So, a lot of different symbolism, a lot of just moving pictures, a lot of feelings,
Hmm.
intuitions, promptings, and occasionally I get clairaudient and I get a few voices that'll say a rose or this wild horse or something like that. They'll give me some kind of one word, two-word statements or something like that and everything. So when I combine everything, that comes under the heading of clairvoyance.
Hmm.
Okay. And you're not only seeing with your physical eyes, but you're seeing with your inner eye, and you're seeing it on multi levels. Okay. That includes clairaudience, claircognizance, and
Hmm.
whatever.
And so with that, does the client get to ask questions or is it whatever the ball wants to reveal?
I can work it both ways. I usually encourage people, to interact with me. And
Hmm.
I'll say, I'm doing 3 questions a day, or you get 5 questions, or something like that. And it works sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't because it kind of puts people on the spot. Oh, gee, I didn't know I was going to have to think up some questions, you know. And, it ends up sometimes they say, just tell me what you see, and I will go that direction. And what is it that Mary needs to know today? I
Yeah.
might have a statement like that. Let only truth be spoken, let only truth be heard is a motto that I always say with my readings too. And
Mhm.
that gets the element of truth into it here. It's like I'm not bullshitting you. This is what I'm picking up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is what I'm seeing. This is the vibrations that are coming through to me right now, as I'm doing this reading for you and everything. But,
Mm-hmm.
they can ask all sorts of questions. I don't pull any punches. If you want
Mm-hmm.
to ask me about, the affair your husband had or something like that, go for it. Everything stays here on the table,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't go telling tales or whatever. Or if I see something, that might be disastrous or anything, I will, I'll say, brace yourself because I see some things disastrous going to happen and
Mm-hmm.
everything. That's my job. That's what I'm here. That's why I'm doing these skills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And trying to hone myself more and more as I go through this life. And is the order to be, it's like that guy tells the truth. He's pretty accurate, and
Mm-hmm.
everything. He doesn't mess around. And that's kind of I kind of bank on that, as my reputation. It's like I don't mess around. I don't give false readings. I don't
Mm-hmm.
tell you what I think you need to hear, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that I might have some things where I'll say, need to really check in with source more, check in your
Mm-hmm.
energy patterns or something along those lines. But there's some people that will get into they have a secret thing that they like to do, and oh, you should be eating right. You should be eating these fruits and vegetables and doing this and that, see what I'm saying, and they got this other agenda that they're trying to push into their psychic reading. If that, and it's like, wait a minute, can we get back to the reading? Because you're telling me about eating more bananas, you know, and
Right.
everything, which is a valid thing. Okay, I get it. If you're seeing stomach problems, okay, please tell me, But it's like, don't give me a whole menu that I should change my whole menu around going forward. That's not what this is about here.
No, it's not. It's just about channeling the truth in the best way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that will also have the misconception too that you're reading for grandma or you're reading for somebody else,
Oh,
and
that
it's
always
like no,
freaks me out.
no, this is your reading. This is there's no one else here but you and me. I'm tuning into you. I tapped into, turned on, tuned in you.
Yeah. It always cracks me up when I have people who get mad about a reading, go away, and 6 months later they come back kind of sheepish, like you were right.
Sometimes, occasionally,
And because I guess that's the other thing about telling people the truth instead of what they want to hear is taking the risk that they're going to be not pleased immediately.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've had some hard reads. I'll admit it. I've had some people that were real skeptics walking in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've had even people at a couple times at the expos that I did in the past come up and challenge me in the middle of a reading. It's like, well, that could be anything, and just blow the reading all apart and everything and challenge me about what I'm saying. And it's like, if you're unsatisfied, here's your $20 back right now. It's
Yeah.
not about the money,
Mhm.
and everything. So, you have all kinds out there, that want to do
You
that.
do. And I ended up doing like a really beautiful belief work session on myself to stop having people challenge me because I didn't advertise as a medium for years because
Mhm.
people would always be like, what was the secret word my brother gave me? And my ego would flare up. And I'm like, don't freaking test me. I've been seeing ghosts since I was 3. Like, I would take that right in the wrong way until I worked
Right,
on myself.
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but it's an interesting thing, and the only cure for that is to be connected with source. Okay, I'll go back to my old knock on that. But in order to be proficient at
Hmm.
scrying or crystal gazing,
Yeah.
and when you're tuned in, um, you should be getting good, accurate readings. You should be getting messages from spirit on a lot of
Absolutely.
different things, and especially if you get into the right proper states. If you can, I like to talk about trance because trance is like you go from point A to point B in the morning on your way to work. How did I get here?
Yep.
That whole section right there that you slept through, so to speak, you were in trance and your subconscious mind took over the wheel.
Hmm.
Okay. But that's how you get. And it's when you can get into it, slip into trance easily, okay, and at will, then now you're opening yourself up to, I'm blocking out all the energies that are outside of me, making noise, challenging me,
Mhm.
so on and so forth, and everything. So it really is the path to go to be more authentic and accurate in your readings.
Mhm.
Meditation, relaxation are your two major things.
So I know you're going to be doing the crystal balls for the fair coming up. And I'm
Mhm.
excited about that. But what is your favorite way to do readings? Is it the crystal balls or?
I usually like a combination of both tarot
Mhm.
and crystal. Okay. And I try to divide up the time. Say
Yeah.
if it's a 30-minute reading, I would give 15 minutes to
Mhm.
the tarot and 15 minutes to the ball. Um, Something along those lines or whatever, and I don't push people away. Everybody gets their 30 minutes or whatever,
Mhm.
it's like, I'm not, here, we're done. Hit the road. I got another customer going here. No, just relax, and I try to give them their money's worth and
Yeah.
everything when you get reading. And I'm a spiritual counselor, so it's always like, a lot of times I'll ask somebody, is there anything important that you want to talk about?
Yeah.
You know, is there something that's worrying you, or
Mhm.
you're having a hassle with, or something like that? Don't be afraid to talk about it. And like I said, what's said here stays here.
Mhm.
It's like I'm not going to go shout it to the wind. Oh, you should know what she's doing, or whatever. I don't do that. It's like, but I am here to help you. If I can give you a little bit of wisdom, on your journey and maybe something to think about as you're on your drive home, then I've done my job.
Awesome.
And the nice thing about when I got in the Wicca and everything and got to be a high priest, I was also a licensed minister. And so I've been able to, what's
Mhm.
that?
So that's awesome. But keep going.
I was just, it's just I got to, officiate weddings and hand fastings, and I haven't done any funerals or anything like that. I've not
Mhm.
had that happen, other than Samantha's, funeral when she passed. But it was nice to have that, license to be able to solemnize marriages and stuff like that, or to counsel people,
Mhm.
as a priest and everything. So it was
Mhm.
kind of humbling.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So what all services do you offer people? You said you're a spiritual
Um,
counselor, but
Yeah. I also do artwork of
Mhm.
abstract designs and stuff like that. I do a lot of wood burning, painting. Um, I use Qigong energy treatments for people.
Mhm.
Okay. I practice Qigong on a daily basis, and I also practice Qigong with a stick. Use it for fighting, exercise, balance, so on and so forth. I work with a stick. And so I do Qigong energy healing, um, spiritual counselor, like I said. I do spell casting for people. If you want something to happen, then I can work with you and work magic with you. Okay. I always recommend that, and I don't try to rob people, to do magic for them and everything. I'm working with you,
Mhm.
okay, for a fair price. And I'll draw up the spell and everything. I'll work with you, however the time period that takes. We'll walk side by side as I help you, cast the spell.
Right.
The real magic lies within. Okay,
Mhm.
so it's not me that's doing the magic, it's you, and I'm showing you how to do it. Okay, a lot of people don't understand it. Well, you're going to work magic for me, and it didn't work. It's like, no, you're the one that's doing the magic. I'm helping you and showing you how to do it.
It's
So, and a lot of people don't even know how to the simplest things on how to program your mind
yeah.
for it. Okay. Or let's get into, you're going to cause something to happen, and I'm going to show you how to make that happen. You
Mhm.
see. So I do spell casting. Okay. I offer those services. Shamanic journeys. I haven't done any shamanic journeys probably in about 10 years.
Mhm.
I did a couple before that, and they were wonderful. So I do have the experience to take someone on a shamanic journey out in nature. I live in Wayne National Forest down here by the Hocking Hills. So there's plenty of ground to go out and, do a day or two overnight if need be to do a
Mhm.
shamanic journey. And I would make all the preparations of having firewood and stuff like that, a camp place and
Hmm.
whatever to do the journey. Um, uh, I just got a long list of things that I can do. I'm like a jack of all trades, master of none.
I think you've mastered a few of them. But I was gonna say I love like how you just keep learning more and more things. That's amazing.
It's how to turn that over, how to
Mhm.
apply that is where I get stuck sometimes.
Mhm.
Okay, because I want to offer this class, but it's like, okay, I need to get a class together. So that's going to take time, energy, effort, whatever to get a class together and then present it. And now
Mhm.
that we've moved into the electronic age, the information age, and everything, we're having a conversation right now. I'm not used to all the technology.
Yeah.
I'm used to having classes in a classroom where I'm showing you stick figures and I'm drawing on a blackboard. You
Yeah.
see, I'm used to that type of teaching, okay, and it's kind of difficult. Technology will come about sooner or later. Somebody will give me a camera and I'll set things up and I'll record a class and see how that goes and everything. But for the time being, I'm getting ready in my big old 14 room house here to have some classes, have some seances. I want to try some seances with people. And
Hmm.
it's by donation. It's like I'm not going to charge for something that I don't know. But if you want to give me $5 for the toilet paper or the lights or whatever to eat, yeah, that's fine. I'll have a basket there. But I would really like to do a seance or two here coming up. And like I said, teach some different classes and have some people come to the house out here in nature.
That sounds amazing.
So,
So if people want to come and do a seance with you or meet you outside of the fair, how do they get a hold of you?
okay. You can see all my list of services at blackcatenergy.com.
Hmm. Okay.
And I live in a little town called New Straitsville, Ohio. It's out east of Logan on State Route 93, and that's southeast of Columbus. And it's a big old 14-room house, and the three rooms downstairs are my reading room, my healing room, and my shaman room with all my books and stuff like that. So there's a place to do counseling in three
Mhm.
of those rooms. And I have extra rooms if someone needed to stay overnight or something like that, a crisis place for people to stay. I've got extra guest rooms. I just offer, kind of full service, kind of thing. They can get a hold of me through the website or my phone number is 740-605-2191.
Okay.
And I'm on call 24/7 all the time. So if you're in a crisis or you just need somebody to talk
Mhm.
to for 5, 10 minutes, then call me up. I'll talk to you.
All right. That's amazing. You're very generous with your time, it sounds like, and your home.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's who I am.
Hmm.
And it's like my purpose. So if I want to get to my purpose, you got to do the act now
Yeah.
as if it's already happening. And you just keep
Mhm.
walking in more and more and more of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this chat. We could probably chat for much, much longer, but
Oh, I would like to. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I would.
we'll just have you back on this show again and we'll just nerd out about something else. Maybe go deeper into some topics.
Hey, why not? We'll get specific about a couple of things, sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, sure. Thanking you very much for inviting me to this show.
Absolutely.
Well,
And so, yeah, it's going to be great to see you in person on April 11th. Columbus area people come see us. Everyone's going to dress in costumes and make flower crowns, which is going to be very silly and very magical.
right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see what I can do about that. Yeah. Get creative. Get my juices going. Get creative.
All right. All right. Well,
But
thanks again.
yeah, thank you so much. And did we get our time in here?
Yeah, let me just do the outro. So, thanks everybody for listening to Let's Get Weird Again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Blessed be everybody.